The federal government should not use expansionary fiscal policy to fight recessions in the economy. I have several reasons for this, and I will start off by saying that the Fed operates in real time without up-to-date data, so it is really flying blind. This is my essential point. Now, there are several limits to fiscal policy that are more specific, and people who advocate for expansionary policy will say that the multiplier effect will take care of everything, that the government can just spend a little bit of money and the multiplier effect will have a great big impact on the entire economy. It's not that simple. So if government spending is increased too much, it can crowd out consumer spending. We see this as a trade-off. So government starts raising taxes so it can spend more, and people don't have as much money in their pockets to spend, so consumer spending is reduced, government spending is increased. It's a trade-off. It's not actually helping anyone. Another point is that there are three means of acquiring the funds necessary to boost the aggregate demand curve. First, we can raise taxes. Now, this is an illusion of wealth creation. Wealth is only being redistributed, not created. The government increases taxes, charges one person, and then spends them somewhere else, so they're just taking money from here and just putting it over here. Not creating wealth, just redistributing it. Another great way they can acquire the funds necessary is by printing more money. An increase in the money supply leads to higher rates of inflation, which can be a very difficult problem to solve in the long run. We can see this in those Reagan administration increases in the interest rate, or reduction in the interest rate, which then led to a very high unemployment rate from 1980 to 1982. Essential but painful. Now, the third way that the government can increase the number of funds that they have is by borrowing money. Now, this is a short-term solution. So in the long run, they must generate more funds later on to pay back their interest. And this also generates the possibility of crowding out consumer spending. So they're just pushing a problem back to a later time. Now, another reason that that fiscal policy is limited is that government spending can only be a drop in the bucket in relation to the entire national economy. An increase in government spending will likely produce very little positive effect in relation to all of the United States. Now, another reason that fiscal policy is limited is for timing purposes. There are various lags in the system. It just takes time to get all that money printed, to get all the legislature filled out, and then to actually predict when to spend and how much to spend. It's just far too difficult for the government to actually work fully effectively. And finally, fiscal policy is not very useful in fighting negative real shocks. We can see here that a negative real shock will cause a shift in the solo growth curve and the short-run aggregate supply curve, so that we go from 3% growth to negative 3% growth. And then when the government starts spending money to increase the aggregate demand curve up here, we only get an increase in economic growth from negative 3% to negative 1%, and an increase in inflation from 8% to 16%. So it's not proportionate at all in a very positive way. This is my case for why expansionary fiscal policy is not the best course of action to take during a recession. Thank you.